Welcome to Aging Untold. You may not know the term NORC, but you could have one right around the corner. NORCs, or naturally occurring retirement communities, are neighborhoods that have gradually aged because the residents chose to stay in their homes. They're not planned retirement communities, so ladies, these communities, though, can provide both comfort and challenges to older Americans who decide to stay put. What's your take on living in a NORC?
So I think it's cool when a neighborhood ages and they age together. And so you've got the neighbors and the relationships, and you'll see that they actually learn to just take care of one another because they've grown older together. And so I think those are amazing. But for me, somebody that's in the service industry that served our age community, those are the demographics we look for, and we bring the services to them. So I've had a home care agency, and that's the exact places that you want to go to and you want to service and you want to build around and be there to take care of them. And that's the cool part of it, is a lot of people are deciding that, hey, this community's grown older, the demographics show it. Let's come in with a little neighborhood pharmacy and let's build around them so they don't have to leave. I love that.
I think it brings up the question, like if you're in a NORC, if you've kind of grown up, you had your family, and now you're still there, what's available to you and what calls can you make to get something available to you? How is the health care? Is there a hospital nearby? How close are caregivers? Where, like, get those plans in place, know who you're gonna call for what if you're in a NORC, or if you landed in a NORC. You didn't know that you were in an older neighborhood, but there you are. It's the same drill. Just ask the right questions. And if age diversity is important to you, I remember being in college and I just left to go to the mall to see people of different ages because I was sick of seeing everybody the same age. So if you need that, find outlets to be around people of different ages. I think that's kind of the questions that I would ask viewers to ask themselves.
Well, my parents are live in a NORC, and I didn't know that.
Oh, wow.
But it's the same house that we grew up in, and the interesting thing is the neighbors and everyone, they all aged. Some of them have died, but still their children still always calling, checking on my parents, and some of the original people are still there, and others have moved in. So my neighborhood where my parents are, it's close to pharmacies and it's close to a hospital and all that. Mm-hmm. So that proximity is there. They're very fortunate, but I just think it's a really cool thing.
So one of the big pros to that, from what I hear, is like you were raised in that neighborhood. Mm-hmm. So you were a child there playing with the neighborhood kids. So you guys grew up together, right, and you shared parents.
Absolutely.
So you go to your friend's house and their parents become your parents. So now you're all kind of, as a community, helping take care of the older community. I love that.
Yeah, because some of the neighbors, their parents pass, they still come to check on my parents, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's nice.
Yeah. And if we're talking about that situation, on the opposite end of the spectrum is that you're making it possible for your parents to age in place safely and well there. And there are a lot of people that don't have anyone to provide that kind of support. And so to Amy's point, making sure that you can access nutrition, access everything that you need, is it going to make sense for the long term? Another way of looking at a NORC is people returning to, say, their college town, believe it or not, or returning to the neighborhood that they grew up in. They might have graduated and moved away, spent their whole career away, and then they move back home to the city or even a neighborhood that they're, it's just kind of nostalgic to move back home. And so sometimes we're really talking about that too, people coming back to roost.
I just look at the benefits, like even with my parents, just the familiarity with they're familiar with everything, mm-hmm, the intention, the memories and all that. So I think they would lose that if they had to go to a new place, especially with my mm-hmm father having some cognitive decline.
Yeah, and your parents aren't isolated because you're there all the time.
All the time.
Yeah. And if with your dad, with his memory impairment, if he was to get out and wander, he's in a neighborhood where everybody knows him.
Exactly.
So it's not like we're going to be, oh, who's that walking down the street? They're going to know who he is and where he belongs, and the phone calls are going to happen. So that, having that familiar side for him is just a cushion of safety.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I had this experience. I live in a NORC. I didn't know I was moving into a NORC, but I moved into a NORC and my heat went out. And within an hour, I had a bunch of space heaters from my neighbors who were.
Oh, neat.
So yeah. So it was one of those things where I thought, it's old school.
Yeah.
They're home. I had one text out, and the guys were at the house going, "You can't be getting cold on us, sweetheart."
This is
so
this
sweet.
is that barn raising generation, the one where if the neighbor's barn falls down, everybody jumps in together to help raise the barn and
Yeah.
help restore.
That's exactly what the concept is about, is that people adapt without formal planning. Without formal planning, it's neighbors helping neighbors. And sometimes it's municipalities helping as well, creating things that are good for the area. And then statistics show that it ends up being good for all ages.
I think the key thing I would want people to think about is when you need care, you really need care. You need help with a bath, help getting dressed. Find out where you're going to get it before you need it. How close are the caregivers? Do they have to travel? What companies are good? What companies aren't good? Can you hire them privately? Like, ask those questions ahead of time, because sometimes in the NORCs, the caregivers have to travel because you have all older people that aren't working living close to you.
How nice for the caregivers. So then wouldn't this be a great plan if those companies would then say, hey, you need an hour's help and you need an hour's help and you need it. And then we can share that care across that NORC and get rid of those great big minimums that cause affordability to be so out of reach. So if I don't have to pay for a 4-hour minimum and I could share it amongst several of my neighbors,
So true.
we could make care really affordable. So if you own a home care agency, listen to me. It's the wave of the future, and it's going to keep you in business and keep them taken care of.